answers. I scratch my head and the answers were gone.
And to reach to the blood cell could not be gone. Crosses cross, I'm like a rain. Forgive you one, you help me out to try.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel slang the greed.
It's your boy Concert Viz 34 back at home.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34.
Yep, so your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you here.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Aria. Okay, so this is Aria, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your love for the Dave Matthews Band.
I've been a fan of the band since April 28, 1998. And if you recognize the date, that's when Before These Crowded Streets was released.
Alpine is definitely a better venue than Summerfest, but we'll take it. I think I've been going to shows for about 20-something years.
I always tell people, like, compare DMB to now to when I first started. And I got started, in my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like, I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that 03 to 06 was like the end of the prime. 07, 08 was like, you know, we're at the very end. And then when Roy passed.
But Dave really, this is the thing. Dave has put, Rashawn has been assigned the quarterback of this team. He is the coach, the play caller. He designs the jams. Dave just shows up and plays whatever he's going to play. Seattle, what up? Redmond, Washington, what up? How y'all doing in Redmond? Tacoma, I know the traffic's crazy out by y'all. What y'all doing out there in Tacoma? Everett, Washington, what's up? Kirkland, Washington, what up? Castle Rock, what up? Vancouver, Washington, right by the Oregon border, what up? You're in between both shows, between Portland and Seattle. Walla Walla, Washington, what up? Ellensburg, everyone in Ellensburg, how y'all doing? Skolnami Pass, what's up? Shout out to Skolnami Pass. It's almost winter when that pass gets rough during the winter time, right? Be careful. Make sure you have the trucks gotta have the chains on the tires. SUVs and sedans have the snow tires and all-wheel drive. Otherwise, don't go through Skolnami Pass. Pass on it. What up, what up? It's your boy Conserviz 34, and it is 2:15 a.m. here on the East Coast. But the West Coast just got another show, the first ever full band show as a first headlining show in the 21st century. Right? That's an awesome for Seattle. that's kind of the thing. This was a special night for the city that Dave has adopted long ago. And now they have a show. Now they played in 2006 as an opener for the Rolling Stones at Quest Field. Now it is Lumen Field. They last played this kind of structure or this footprint. It was the Key Arena. They kind of demolished most of it and put $1 billion into it and made it Climate Pledge Arena, which I heard great things about. Also, another fact, the band played Tacoma on 11/4/1998. So this is 11/4/2022. They played Tacoma. Tacoma is literally it's part of the Seattle metropolitan area. I have driven through the I-5 corridor about 3 or 4 times myself through the Seattle metro, and beautiful drive. But Tacoma is literally it's people who live in Tacoma, they say live in Seattle. Okay. So they did play the Tacoma Dome, which has had its fair share of concerts in 98, but really 21st Century, this is the first full band show in Seattle. Obviously, the Gorge gets 3 nights a year. Hoping to get some people connected tonight. Some of our buddies from Vancouver came back into the States, and I'm going to see if we can get them on. Let me actually also check on, we're going to also see if we can get, I'm going to get another link out. Now, Connor brings up a good point here. Let's go to the top of this. This was the best sounding SiriusXM stream to date. Absolutely. This was a great one. Oh. Here is a link. All right. So we may try to get Brianna on as well. I know I want to make sure she gets back safely home. She is a Seattle resident. Yeah, the stream tonight, I will say this. The stream tonight was the best I've heard it. Now, you have a couple of factors here. A couple of factors that that made this stream the greatest SiriusXM stream I've heard to date. First off, you have the new Meyer Panther sound system that the band has essentially has acquired from here on out, essentially. And then you have Climate Pledge Arena, which was, again, this whole block, this whole neighborhood got $1 billion+ of private money put in to revamp the Key Arena. And that's why I pretty much say it's the same footprint as that old arena where the Sonics played. Many classic concerts in Seattle were there. But they literally just demolished it essentially and rebuilt in the same. Now, it wasn't fully demolished. Essentially, it is technically a renovation in many cases. But all of those factors, the venue, the new PA system, and then SiriusXM just being on their game. There were things I heard from Stefan that I didn't even hear when I was at the soundboard for Guilford, New Hampshire. There were bass lines, okay? There were bass lines that I had never heard, like just bass runs I'd never really clearly heard from Stefan, okay? So that's how great it was. Dave's guitar was amazing. And I think the highlight, if we pull up the set list here, to me, this was one of the best sounding Seek Ups I have heard in a while. And listen, I was at the Guilford, New Hampshire one, which was really good, right? That Seek Up, to me, is the best moment of this show. Like, that is the best sonic moment of this show, is that Seek Up. And you guys know I have a big frustration with the beginning of Seek Up. I have a big frustration with Seek Up because the band does not always nail it right. They have a shouting match between Jeff and Rashawn, okay? That didn't happen tonight. That did not happen tonight. And I'm glad it did not happen tonight. Oh, Connor brings up a good point. Crush was great too. Crush was, I heard that Stefan solo like I've never heard it before. The Crush, no, you're absolutely right. The Crush was great as well. But that seek, it's really that seek up intro, right? The Sean Smith says Tim has sounded excellent the past 2 nights. His tone is good right now. Yes. I don't know if the new system has anything to do with that, but yeah, Tim sounds amazing. And at the end of Seek Up, you had a Tim that just sounded totally different. Seek Up, I don't like She, and we'll get to the set list in its entirety in a second. She is a song I really don't like, but it actually sound like the actual, like the way it was mixed sounded good. I just think the song is trash. And we'll talk about that, like I said, in a moment. But I thought the sound throughout the night was just, it felt like a whole new world. And SiriusXM has done a great job over the last year, really November of 2021. She's a song. No. That's not. No, it's not. Because I am a huge grunge fan. I am a huge rock fan. I love She. I know it's not even about love and all that other stuff. That has nothing to do with it. Because I love a lot of love songs that Dave has. I know it's a song he wrote. His wife was in the studio and it's dedicated to his wife. But the lyrics, the flow of it is not, it's not good. It's not a good song, in my opinion. Now, some people may like it, right? But it's not a good song. It's a wannabe grunge song. That's the problem with it. It's Dave trying to be something he's not. You're not Soundgarden, RIP Chris Cornell. You're not Alice in Chains, okay? And that's what that song, that's the problem with that song. Okay. So I really liked how this show sounded. And when we get a product like this, right? All right, and looks like we're gonna try to get a guest in here. They're about 5-10 minutes away. But yeah, the sound was definitely the best thing about this. When you have this sound on point like this, it doesn't, like, you can have a set like tonight and it's I'm still walking away like, okay, I really had a great experience tonight. I'm pumped up, I'm amped up. It's 2:24 in the morning and I'm still just raving about how great the sound was. Let's zoom this out so you guys can see the set a little fuller here. And let's get some other stuff up on here. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. Hit that like button. The like button, you hit that like, it gives me more exposure. We get more people in. We can get more guests. The bigger we grow this network, the more access we can have to the band. Here is what I will say about this show. And we'll get to some guests in just a moment, but this show doesn't have a song better, in my opinion. Like, just listening to this, there's not a song better than Drive In, Drive Out in this show. As far as like, oh, that's that one. Oh, that's that. Oh man, that's one of my. That's a deep cut, right? And that's the biggest shock of really tonight. You think, oh, they in Vancouver they play a Lover Lay Down, they play a Drive In, Drive Out, right? Let's go back to Vancouver just so you guys can see this set. It was like, okay, it was a practice. The riff, even Fool in the Rain, Drive In, Drive Out, Fool in the Rain, the riff, Lover Lay Down, Gray Street, Ocean, and the Butterfly, Rooftop is a great run. You can maybe take out Rooftop, but like Drive In, Drive Out and Fool in the Rain, give me a better cover tonight than Fool. Like, I love Fool. And listen, Watchtower had McCready, right? but Fool in the Rain is fresher than Watchtower. That's what really stands out to me. Now, what I do like on the flip side is the best move that Dave did all night. He didn't put Watchtower in the encore. He brought out McCready and put Watchtower in the main set where it should belong. It doesn't need to be in the. I don't want to end a show with a cover, even though it's Dave's song. And yeah, I know. The 99 Woodstock Watchtower is one of my favorite DMB moments, period. But Sledgehammer is stale to me. Sledgehammer is stale. The Maker is, I know some people like The Maker. The Maker was it was spotted weird at number 2. You start off the show, One Sweet World, you need Granny, right? You need a 41. You need something high energy, and they went to The Maker. So I'm interested to see what people thought who were at the show. But a lot of these things were spotted weirdly here. Again, there's not really a run. We played Spoon at the beginning of this show. Like, I think, you put McCready on a spoon or you put him on something else. Like, you think about Charlottesville, right? Charlottesville in 2010. And he pops up on Spoon. And I don't know. I think it's interesting, the spotting of things, but I think the big theme here is the sound of this show. All right, so we're gonna bring on our first guest. Zach, just hang tight if you can. We're gonna bring on a local Seattle resident who always goes to the Gorge, is always traveling across country, and this is her hometown show. This was a special moment for her to just be able to, have a short drive and see the band that she loves and cares about. And we've shared a lot of her content on here. Some of her contests. What's the best version of Two Step? Best version of Dancing Nancy's. We've had some great conversations. And so let's bring on Brianna. How you doing?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm good. Good. Can you hear me? You're okay? I'm in my car.
Oh, it's kind of cutting in and out. Do you want me to just call you on your phone?
You could. You could.
Because I have your number.
Call me on my phone, Marcus.
Okay, I'm gonna disconnect you and then I'm gonna call you on the cell.
Sounds good, sir.
All right. All right, so we're gonna call her here.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 20649.
Martinez?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. So we're talking about this show, definitely unique in a couple different ways, but what are you feeling like right now after this historic first headlining hometown show of the 21st century for DMB?
I was so excited to take my whole family to a show and ride the light rail there. It was amazing to be able to not have to drive 2.5 hours to go to a concert.
That's awesome. And I know that's it's, even though the Gorge is technically close to home, it's still a rigorous journey through I-90 and you have to get your camping stuff or get your hotel stuff. So that's an awesome thing there. What were some special things about this specific show for you?
Well, one thing that was really fun was I was able to hold a little bit of a pre-funk ahead of time that once again was not like out in the middle of like nowhere at the Gorge, which was great. And see some great people and connect with the family, and just being able to take my kids to this show. My kids have been raised on Dave. They were excited about going to this show, and being able to bring them was just really special. So that stood out for me a lot. The last time we spoke, I brought my oldest son, to Dallas, and it was great to have all by three kids here tonight. And they had some friends from school also there, because I have parents who are DMB fans, and they brought their kids. So it was a little bit of a family affair across the board.
That's awesome, and that's an interesting kind of perspective there. That if you live in Seattle, you like the Gorge, you can't necessarily bring younger children, or sometimes they have other obligations for the whole weekend. But for a Friday night, all of your children are there. Some of their friends, they can go, because again, it's just down take the highway into Seattle. So that's very, I didn't even think about something like that living here in the Northeast, where you have these New Yorks and Bostons not too far from me, but you've never had that experience to just take all the kids for one night, bring them back home that same night. So now they get to see Dave.
Yeah, so they all got to see Dave tonight. It was awesome. And I tell you, I don't know how other people have been feeling, but life has been a lot lately, and this is a bucket filler for me. So it was really good. And Dave was on point. The band was on point. They were playing top notch. And can we talk about the guest spot for Mike McCready with Watchtower? Like, having Mike McCready come on is a big freaking deal, especially in Seattle.
Right. I mean, Pearl Jam isn't even, they played this year, but even Pearl Jam, they were kind of holding off in 2021. They weren't playing before the pandemic that much. So to have a hometown hero, probably one of the most legendary bands, because obviously Hendrix, but Hendrix is an individual, but just one of the most legendary bands from Seattle, to have someone come out. What was the crowd like when that happened?
I couldn't even take in the crowd, because honestly, me and my husband were so excited, because we're huge Pearl Jam fans. I mean, we grew up in the grunge era and growing up here in Seattle. And so Pearl Jam was a big part of our lives. And kind of like Dave not playing here full band since 96, Pearl Jam barely plays here ever. So it's a little bit of the same. And so having Mike McCready come on and play with Dave was it was a really big treat.
Right. And that's the other thing I know of. Pearl Jam fans are waiting for the first Climate Pledge Arena show. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen this year, but you're right. It's a special thing. Now, as far as, there was another guest on Jimmy thing. We have, looks like there's a saxophone player, Skirik. What was it like to have a guest here playing some sax on Jimmy thing?
He was awesome. He brought a great energy to Jimmy. He brought a great energy to Jimmy that I loved. I loved it. I don't know who he is or where he comes from, but it was fantastic, and I was totally there for it, 100%.
Awesome. And what was your favorite song of the night? So just to go through, we have One Sweet World, The Maker, Stay or Leave, Madman, Seek Up, She, Crush, Walk Around the Moon, So Damn Lucky, Gravedigger, Sledgehammer, Gray Street, Come Tomorrow, Watchtower, Kill the Preacher, Why I Am, Jimmy Thing, Bayou, Windows, and Two Steps. What was your favorite song of the night?
Well, so it's fascinating. I forget where I got a full Kill the Preacher already in the summer tour, because it was like the first time in a while he had done a full Kill the Preacher. So the fact that I got 2 of those in 1 year. I'm feeling very lucky about that. But man, Gravedigger was awesome. And I don't remember the last time I've heard Gravedigger, but he was really good. I mean, but the band was on point tonight. I mean, they could have played Ring Around the Rosie, and I would have been completely content and happy to hear it. So I was just really needing the band and really needing live music, and I thought the set was great, and they performed top notch.
And yeah, I'm not sure if you had seen some of my videos, but they just upgraded their PA system. In Vancouver was the first show that they brought that out.
I didn't know that. So what does that mean exactly for a non-musician person?
So essentially, the system that everything runs through, from all the equipment runs through this PA system, and then that goes out to this, that's what you're gonna hear. So the system that everything is plugged into and then is shot out to you guys was essentially upgraded. And that means that it can sound like a very low end one and a middle and high end one. It's like a whole new world. The reason a opening act may not sound that good is because they're their PA
isn't that good.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Also, Time Bomb two-step was freaking phenomenal, and Jeffrey Hauk would be upset with me if I did not say something about the Time Bomb into two-step. So, yeah, that was also, it was really good. And Dave got political again tonight, which is fine. It's fine by me. I don't know if you guys are able to hear that on the Friday night concert series, but he definitely talked about it quite a bit.
To vote, we heard the voting at the end.
Yeah, and voting for Patty Murray in particular, who is one of our senators and has been for a long time in our state. So, yeah, I thought it was an outstanding show. It was so good to see the boys here in Seattle. And I mean, Dave has been such a figure in this community for so long.
Right.
He is such a supporter of so many things. And literally my degree of separation to Dave in this town is like 2 in 15 different directions. My dog played with his dog for 3 years. It's a little stupid that I've not actually like met Dave in Seattle. But he's just such a pillar in this community, and he shows up, and I've seen him solo here so many times. And what a treat to see the whole band here. I've never seen the whole band in Seattle because my first show was in 98, and the last time they played here was 1996.
Right. And in 98, they played in Tacoma.
At the Gorge. They played at the Gorge in May. And it was freaking cold.
Oh, wow. They played in May. I can't even imagine. You could still get a snowstorm in the pass. And
yes, you can. Yes, these are all real things. Yes, Dave played in May in 1998, and it was freaking cold.
Yeah, so we also looked up to the date, 11/4/1998, they played in Tacoma. At the Tacoma Dome.
Oh.
So for some reason they you would think they would do Seattle, but maybe it was it was a basketball game or something. So that was the only other one that I was able to see from the 90s, and then obviously 2006 is the opener for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
That's not you're not getting the full experience. And then obviously tonight. Any other final thought? I mean, I think the biggest takeaway I get from you is, right, life for all of us, right? There's so much going on right now as far as the way the world has changed, the busyness that, it takes more. It's like, feels like, like you said, everyone's running around We have more responsibility. We have all these different things we have to do. So my biggest takeaway is this show, take away the set list. They did play Ring Around the Rosie technically with Gravedigger. So but I think the biggest thing that you've brought to this show is this was medication. This was forget what they played. This was well needed. It was a nice escape down the street from my house or down the street from your house, and that supersedes anything that as far as what was played, who was guesting, what song who they were on, how they started, what song they may have cut off the set list. None of that mattered as much as you getting this show in your hometown with your family, people you love and care about, and just that supersedes everything. That's what I'm getting from you.
That is 100% correct, Marcus. That is all this show really meant to me. I mean, the next show that I have, I'm flying 3,000 miles across the country, and I will go see them at MSG. So this show was special to be able to take my family and experience this with my family, because DMB for us is a complete family affair. And my kids have been raised on Dave, and so being able to see this with all of them and see it with our friends and just have that experience was everything we needed right now.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you're not the only one. You're not alone as far as this show, being really just a nice, special moment in the midst of a crazy time of year. It's got the holidays, got different things with picking up it towards for work. So, thank you so much, Brianna, for coming on. Thank you for representing Seattle. This is to get a local's perspective on this show, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of your weekend.
Well, thank you so much, Marcus, for having me on. Yeah, it was great just being able to drive down the street to a show. I've never had that experience, so it was really lovely. And hopefully, I'll see you in New York City in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I'll be there for night 2.
All right, I will be there. All right. Thank you, sir. You have a great night. And thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
I just love how you do these after show debriefs. It's fantastic. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. You have a good night. Take care. Goodbye.
All right. Bye.
All right. So that was Brianna, and you can follow her at DMB Brianna. I'll just bring her up, and then what we're going to do is get Michael on again, and then we also have the one of our great tapers on as well, just waiting in the background. I appreciate their patience as we try to get everyone, and I wanted to get Brianna in because I know she's got to get everyone to get the kids to bed and everything. But it's DMB Brianna 10. Let me put this up here. And again, what I love about her is she'll have every now and then she'll have some content when she has time. This is on Instagram, DMB Brianna 10. She'll have, hey, let's all talk about what's your favorite. You can vote for your favorite, like what's the best 2-step, best 41, best this song. And everyone kind of puts comments in first. They pull the comments and then they kind of get it to 4 things, and you vote for one of the 4, and then there's a winner selected. And it can be for whatever reason you think one is better than this is the best version. Doesn't matter. So real cool. All right, so we're gonna go from the local hometown fan to some fans that have traveled across the country. We're gonna start off with next up Michael. Let me just get this set up, and we'll get him in. He has gotten through customs from the Vancouver show, and he is back in the United States of America. Let's get this set up. All right, Mike, how you doing?
Marcus, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. So tell us about this Seattle show. What did you think compared to the Vancouver show as far as how this one went?
Man, it was nice, dude. They're getting dialed in. I'll tell you what. They You were talking the other night about the sound of the audience, the new rig and everything else that they got. I mean, it really sounded. At one point in time, I was trying to pick out individual like the brass section or if Dave, and trying to pick out the instruments, and not I could pick them out. Everything was blended together. But if I tried hard enough, I could pick out each individual one. Just the blend was just really nice tonight. It sounded nice. It was a really nice show. Everything sounded good.
Awesome. And we got to hear the Sirius XM version of this. And we appreciate, I know you stream for the couch tour, but I was telling people, I was like, listen, love the couch tour, but hop into Sirius XM because it was just Connor just in the chat was talking about it. This was the best Sirius XM stream I've heard.
That absolutely, without question. Like I live stream, and I say, you need to listen to Sirius. You can do whatever with what I'm doing, but the audio quality to be had on the Sirius is always better. Friday night shows especially, and then tonight, I mean, the mix was just it was on. You could tell. I don't know if it's because of the rebuild of the place and the acoustics. I asked some people. I tried to get an answer on what the place sounded like beforehand, but it's 96, man. Nobody's seen him. Nobody to try to find somebody that saw him in 96 here was
Right.
was tough to put my hands on somebody like that. So I couldn't really get a legit answer, but it did. They spared no expense in this venue. This venue was redone. Everything's just perfect. But they put a seat in every nook and cranny. You know what I mean? There's four. They had 1, 2, 3, 4 full levels. So somebody was asking about seating capacity for me. I didn't know. But it was definitely more of the lower section was more like a corporate feel. You know what I mean? Like a lot of luxury boxes. Like you know what I mean? I don't know if people switched up and they got different seats or what, but there were quite a few empty seats around the lower bowl where I was. It was shocking. Rows of seats. But it was really a good show. It was awesome. Nice flow to it. A little slow in the middle for me, but I can't be commenting on set lists or anything like that because I'm getting a little jaded on that sort of thing, dude. To be honest with you, but the placement of the songs, we talked last night or the other night about that. It seemed to lay a lot better tonight, with the way everything went.
Speaking of that, what did you think? Because this was kind of one of the biggest curveballs. What did you think of the Maker being the second song?
I don't know. I mean, that's tough. I figured with him not being there since '96, we were going to stick strictly to the radio hits. You know what I mean? They're not radio hits, but radio hits to us. I thought we were going to go at least with the first 3 or 4. We were going to go right down the line with that. Those are going to be right out the gate. Just one after the other. I figured. We talked about it. That Girl's You or something, or something off Come to Bar, the later released albums that people would know. And yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. And then Stay or Leave in Madman's Eyes, they didn't know that either. And then they dropped in a Seek Up with a Seek Up's rough if everyone's not into it, man. It's definitely a different experience being out here than an East Coast show. It's a whole different experience there.
So yeah, let me just stop you there because that's a good point. You were at the Yankees playoff game. I'm a Yankees fan, and in 2019, the Yankees were here Gorge Week. So I was like, I'm going. So I go to a Yankees game, and I'm used to, Yankees suck. I made friends with like all these Mariners season ticket holders. They were just like, they weren't trying to get pictures of Aaron. They were just so friendly. So it is a different vibe. The Gorge is the same way. But that Seek Up, let's stop right there because it's interesting you say that the crowd wasn't in it because at home, I was listening to this Seek Up and I'm like, I've heard this a bunch of times in the last couple of years. I mean, it's always played every tour. And I'm like, this is one of the best sounding Seek Ups I have heard in my decade of going to shows and listening to shows and listening to tapes of the post Roy era. So it's interesting you said, and that's one of the things. So you're saying the crowd just because they just weren't into it.
I don't know if it's into it, but I mean it was tough. Now this goes along the line to like where you're the crowd around you and stuff like that, dude.
Right,
I had people sitting in my section. The guy next to me sat the whole time.
Okay.
So I mean it's a little rough. Like there was a bunch of people around. It took us until we got into Gray Street. What the Crush was the big one that got everybody up because that was the radio hit. When Crush got up, that's when people started going around. So before that was Seek Up. It was tough. People were still hanging out and still actually, kind of still getting settled as far as these people, the non-Dave fans that were just there to see a show. I think there was a lot of those people.
Okay. And you have a lot in Seattle. My buddy works for Microsoft. This is so just to give you an idea, it's about just over 17,000 fans. Like I think it's like less, like it's like 17,000 and like 20 something they project for concerts. You got Microsoft, Boeing. You have a lot of people that make good money that just younger tech. You got some tech there with the Microsoft. And a lot of those people just want to go to stuff in Seattle. And this revamping of what was Key Arena, now Climate Pledge, has brought a lot of acts from John Mayer to like just other like they've had a bunch of different concerts here. So and then the other thing is they have a club level. They have the Seattle Kraken season ticket holders, which I wouldn't be shocked if they were able to get like the corporate level. If you have a nice package, like, hey, here's some D&B tickets. So that is an interesting thing that they have, and so that's that's probably why you have that kind of feel in the city of Seattle versus the Gorge, where anyone going to the Gorge is driving 2 hours in some direction. Unless you live in a farm in the middle of Central Washington, you're driving 2 hours one way or another.
Absolutely. It was a very it was a very corporate feel. It was we need to pay for this place, so we're going to give away 25-30% of the tickets to everything are going to go right to corporate. No matter what, they're going to get it, because there were boxes that I know the tickets weren't sold, on all the luxury boxes around the thing. And I mean, they spent a lot of money redoing this place. So you got to pay it back somewhere. You can't charge us that much to come through the door to pay for this place. So the corporate obviously got in somewhere. So that was a little, you know what I mean? Where I was sitting, I mean, I saw everybody up front, man. They were getting it done. It was great. Absolutely great, man. I mean, any Dave show's a good show.
Yeah. And then I want to go over the Watchtower, because just as odd as the Maker was number 2, I thought one of the best moves of the night was getting Watchtower in the main set and then putting a guest, Mike McCready, on there. What do you think of that Watchtower?
I've gotten a Watchtower mid-set in Homedale, and I had some people up from DC, and I turned and looked at the guy, and he drove up from DC that afternoon. I was like, "What do you think?" He goes, "This was I would worth every penny, every second to be here for see Watchtower mid-set." So to do that with Mike McCready in the middle, that was like insane. I think that just blew the doors off the joint, because it's him anyway. And then to do that version of Watchtower, I was watching it. I mean, it was so musicianally, it was his solo was like tight to the point. Boom. They didn't overinflate it. They didn't do anything more. And the song ended, it was so, I mean, did it come through that way? Like it was just like,
oh, it was great. And I'm very picky with Watchtower. And I thought it was
get out of control real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was insane. I thought the way they did that with a guest performer and everything else, that was one of the best watchtowers I've seen. I mean,
That's awesome.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right. And like you said, you've been to a lot of shows. Your home venue, Homedale, had a mid set, and you're even saying, listen, even with that, this one is even a couple levels up
Yeah,
there. So that says a lot. There any other, as far as, again, I know these things you've been traveling, but as far as well, actually, let's bring this up. So I going to that hits, the lack of hits thing. There's only one song from Crash, which is Two Step, which obviously that is a popular song, but there's no Crash Into Me, there's no 41, there's no from Under the Table and Dreaming, one song. There's no Satellite, even though obviously, us,
there's no so much to say.
right,
None of it.
right,
That's why that beginning section as a fan was phenomenal. I mean, I loved it.
yeah,
I'll take that all day long. I'll take all that. Stay or Leave and the Maker and then running to Seek Up. Sure, I'm for that all week long, man. But like a general corporate audience that's coming in to see what's going on, you know what I mean?
right.
It's just like, let's go, and like, I heard good things. That's tough to ask somebody to sit through that.
Right. No, that's a good point. And that's why this is just, it's one of the most unique sets to only have one. I'm looking, because even, let me zoom in here for those of you guys at home, looking at the song spread, 3 unreleased, 3 covers, which I get the 3 covers, right? You have now the Maker, although the Maker,
doesn't count as a cover because nobody knows it.
Yeah, so even that's like a bad, as far as if you're trying to please a corporate crowd, that's not going to get them. But Watchtower will, Sledgehammer will absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But Some Devil, there's 3 Some Devil songs. Most casual fans may not know much of that Dave Solo's album. You have two Remember Two Things, 2 Come Tomorrow, and then it's 1 Under the Table and Dreaming, 1 Crash, 1 BTCS, 1 Busted Stuff, 1 Segway, 1 Stand Up, and one Big Whiskey song. And it wasn't You and Me, which, hey, that's another song that even if you don't know it, if you're on a date with your wife and your wife's a Dave fan or maybe knows it and you don't, that's a song where you're like, hey, this is us, you and me together. So it's very interesting, like you said, that there's just.
I mean, does it go back to just Dave? Just Dave doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He plays what he wants to play, man.
But you know what though? Usually, even when he plays what he wants, he plays to the crowd. Usually, he's able to, like, for instance, last year they go to Columbus, bust out all these rare things. The next night, he's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They hadn't played there since like the late, I think it was like 97. And he does actually adjust his set list to cater to him. And I've seen him do that. I've gone to one show and it's at this huge, rare place. And then he goes to another show and it's just a casual Tuesday night. And so even though, like you said, he plays what he wants, he says whatever he wants. He'll say, listen, go vote, but you better like vote for this. Or, or he'll make a joke and he doesn't care. But he does try to at least cater a good part of the set to the fan base, whether it's a SPAC or it's a Brandon, Mississippi. He's going to cater to it. And it's interesting. Like you said, as a fan, there's some very cool things. The Seek Up, the Madman's Eyes, we're loving that. A lot of the fans like you and me, we're loving how this new song shaped, but no one knows it from the casuals. So
they were digging it, man. I'll tell you what, they were moving. They were definitely they were digging Madman's Eyes. The guy turned and looked at me. He's like, dude, what was that? I was like, no, man.
That's awesome though. That's awesome though that a casual fan can pick that up, because I'm kind of blinded. I only know what I know. So the fact that you're sitting next to someone who's sitting the whole show and people who are more low key, and they're liking that, that's a good sign for whatever they do with the song. I say whatever because we don't know what we
Yeah,
may not,
but
we may get an
that's 2 in
album.
a row. So I mean, I guess they got pretty much ironed out if they're going to go
Yeah.
back to back like that. I'm guessing it's pretty much.
All right. Well, hey, any other final thoughts? I do want to get Zach on.
Yeah, you got to talk to Zach. You can't talk to me all night. Dude, the lighting rig is wow, man, something else. They've pulled out all the stops on this one. Whatever, it drops down and twists and turn and it's just insane. And they had this whole LED thing going with some, but yeah, that's something that they've come a long way with the rig. It's just really, really impressive. Really impressive that this is the first time I saw it like indoors and and from back. And I was really blown away by that tonight. And yeah, man, the guests that came out, they were awesome. You can't go wrong. The Jimmy thing, he stretched that Jimmy thing again, man. I don't know, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother night. We can do that another night, man. All right. So
awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much. You're on to Portland, right?
Yeah, we're gonna head down to Portland. Hopefully the weather holds out. I don't know. Some people are talking. It was a long drive up, so we'll see, man. But yeah, we're off. All right, buddy.
All right. Well,
have
thank
a good
you
night.
for coming
Thanks
on.
again for being up, man. That's hardcore, Marcus. Thank you.
I love doing this, and hey,
I know.
Thank you for your because listen, you're a part of this community. As far as more people are waiting, if I don't show up for a night, it's not going to be a big deal. If you don't show up for the couch tour, people literally people are going to be mad going to bed and their spouse, but honey, what's wrong? Oh, there was no couch tour straight from the pit.
No, man. It's a group effort. It's a group effort, buddy. I appreciate it.
But yeah, thank you for what you do, and thank you for the joy you bring, because you always show up, even like when you're just on Facebook, even when you're so happy, you're lined up, it's cold and rainy, and you're still, let's go. You're flying here, flying there. So I love your energy. So anyway, have a good night and safe travels to Portland.
You too. All right, man. I'll see you later. Have a great night. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and then what we're gonna do now is bring up the taper who's covering this West Coast swing, and we want to get some of his reaction to the acoustics and just overall what he thought. Zach, how you doing?
Hey, Marcus, good to hear from you. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for your patience. I know you've been waiting for a good 45 minutes.
Don't worry about it, dude. Anytime. I'm always happy to be here.
So let's start off with just the sound, the acoustics of this venue. Tell us about your experience tonight taping this show.
So I was lucky enough that I was able to snag a pit ticket quite literally an hour before doors open because Ticketmaster dropped all day. They were dropping pits. So I was able to upgrade to get myself a little bit better positioning. First off, I will say the whole venue is gorgeous. They did a spectacular job with this remodel. I was asking a little bit around and kind of trying to get an idea of what they actually really did. And to be very clear, they basically tore everything but the roof off this place. Apparently the roof is like a local landmark, so they kept that, but they tore everything down, made the place look super premium. The sound for the entire venue is really nice. I actually got a chance to do a quick kind of walk around, and there wasn't a lot of real dead space anywhere. It sounded really, really good tonight.
Awesome. And yeah, so the roof was part of, I think, the World's Fair.
Yeah, it was part of the World's Fair exhibit there.
Yeah, so that would make sense why they would want to preserve that. But that's awesome. And so you've taped a lot of venues this year. I know one of the ones that we talked about literally on a John Mayer stream is UBS Arena. How does this kind of compare to UBS and obviously it's a Mayer show, but how does this compare to that venue?
Wow, that's a really good question. I didn't even think about that comparison. I will say that there's a lot of similarities between the both of them in terms of how they are laid out. how you get in and out of them, all that stuff. They're very similar. I would actually be. It wouldn't surprise me if I found out that the firms that did both of them were either linked by some commonality or they were even the same firm. It wouldn't surprise me. But even in that sense, uh, they're pretty close. I would say that UBS has a slight edge over it, but I mean you're kind of just you're splitting hairs at that point. They're both really, really solid. It was a good place to hear, and the great part is that even I got to talk with a lot of the staff. I got to talk with some of the locals that have been going to the venue for a while, and the one recurring theme that kept coming out was just how good this room sounds, especially if the bands in front of house really know how to tune it well and they've done a good sound check. Some of the staff are blown away by they recently had the Who play there. An incredible show. I had a couple friends that went to that show and said it sounded fantastic. So especially, at least from my point of view, I would not shy away from this venue for any sort of show. I would be there in a heartbeat, especially if it's really easy to get here by the light rail. There's halfway decent parking around, but then again, it's in the city center. There's no real reason to drive. Just take the train or take a walk.
Awesome. So there's great light rail service to this venue. And that's I love that because I love going to MSG and other venues. And as you know, here in the tri-state area, you have a venue like MSG, easy to get to. And then you have the Barclays Center where they said, hey, just take public transit, and it's a nightmare. So that's cool that
Barclays is a tragedy, unfortunately. There's a lot of things that went wrong with that, but we can get into that when I see you back on the East Coast.
Right. So we talked to Michael and we talked to Brianna, and one of the things Michael brought up was just if he was in the seat. So you're in the pit, but he's in the seats, and he said, hey, there were these awesome moments, but the crowd wasn't really into it in the seating area. What was it like in the pit when they kind of bust out a Maker? They have some, new songs like Madman's Eyes, and they also kind of don't play the Crash Into Me, Satellite. What would you say? There wasn't even any, like, you could list 5 or 6 hit songs, and they skipped Ants, they skipped Crash Into Me, they skipped what would you say, right? What was it like in the pit?
So if we're talking specifically about the attendees and the vibe of the general arena, I will say that I kind of understand where Mike's coming from, that there are a lot of box seats, particularly right on the edge of the floor. There are a lot of sitters in that sense. I understand that, premium boxes got to sell, got to pay back the renovation somehow. I get it. I mean, heck, even when I was taking the elevator down to the floor level, everybody and their uncle has box suites there. You've got IBM has their box suites. They have, Microsoft having their box suites. Everybody's got box suites. But even still, that said, I don't necessarily know if I would agree or say that my experience with it was that there was a lot more of a corporate energy or not many intense fans. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I spent a lot of time tonight looking around the audience because I was trying to get more of a vibe as to what was going on, especially trying to compare and contrast between Vancouver and here. And I will say the vibe was significantly better tonight in Seattle. The fans were significantly more energized. There was a lot more standing, a lot more dancing. The pit was not at all oversold. They could have easily fit another 200 or 300 people in there with no real issue, which is nice. I don't really like, crowded pits. I think that they sold it just the right amount. But the fans themselves were doing a lot of, singing along, a lot of dancing. There was big faces lit up, even in those corporate boxes when like Two Step was on, and you saw, the finance bro sitting there in his Patagonia sweater jamming out the Two Step, which is really cool and really funny when you think about it.
Yeah.
I think that the crowd was really happy to see him. And I will say, without a doubt, Dave was significantly more into this show than anything that happened in Vancouver. The band itself was so much happier being there. Everyone was tight knit. It was a really, really well done musically show. I was really beyond happy with how this went. Even I know that you kind of brought it up before that you may not have a lot of, you know, not a lot of love for this set list. I think that this set list as a whole is leaps and bounds better than what we got over in Vancouver. I think that this is a 1000% better show, better pacing. The guest spots were incredible. And I know that everybody knows Mike McCready, and that's the thing that people are going to talk about. But I just want to kind of highlight the guest that was on Jimmy. His name's Scarrett. He's a incredibly talented jazz musician, and he's actually relatively well known in more of the experimental jam scene, particularly because he plays in a supergroup called Garage à Trois, which includes Stanton Moore, which is the drummer from Galactic, who is absolutely mind-blowingly incredible. Mike Dillon from Primus fame, and then Marco Benevento, who's an incredible, outstanding like jam and jazz keyboard player. So they play kind of a more dark, kind of jazzy, but also really explorative, experimental rock stuff. Scarrett is an incredibly talented jazz musician, and this kind of goes back to the conversation we were having on Wednesday. And I'm beginning to think that what you said has some value in the sense that because Dave's the one that has the final call on any of these guests showing up. He's the one that invites them on. Even for him to ask Lawler to come on, he physically has to ask Joe to do it. That's his rule. And the fact that Dave is giving the okay for these artists who would never ever grace the mainstream in that sense to come on stage in front of a packed arena is a lot of respect. I think that not a lot of people are going to really understand just how big that was, but that's really cool. And he has a mainstay appearance here in Seattle. That's a really, really cool thing for him to do. And he didn't have to do that.
That's a good point. As far as we have another example of him bringing on a musician that may never have a crowd like that to that level in a mainstream type of event. So that's really cool that Dave did allow him to come on from there. Now it looks like someone said, I don't know if you got the set list. So I thought someone in the chat said "So Right" was cut.
It looks as though I didn't get a full scan of it, but it looks like right now, from what I can tell, Rooftop was cut from mid set, and then So Right was cut as the closer. And I'm just gonna say it's very typical Dave to go and say, "Oh, we're kind of iffy on time. I guess we'll close with Bayou." Whereas, because I will tell you, when I saw the Electric come out, and I was like, "Oh, come on, just do So Right. Close this night out with So Right, and it will elevate this show to, from like an A to an A plus plus." And just closing with Bayou hurts. It hurts every time.
Yeah, it's one of those songs where it's just like I know the crowd can get hype, but I think it should have stayed. I know it came back with Buddy, but I think they should have just kept it shelved.
It needs to go back on the shelf. It really does. I think we've talked about this before in the sense that it's an easy song. It's a pocket song for them. It's a song that Dave knows that, hey, I can play this. It's not necessarily the most technically hard song that we play, but 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get a good reaction out of the crowd, especially if Buddy goes and does his standing keyboard outro shenanigans that he does every time. It's a pocket song. it gets a cheap cheer. It's overdone. Just put it away. Leave it be for like 2 or 3 years. We'll take it back at some point. Just leave it alone. You played it to death over the past ever since Buddy came back. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah, and the other thing as far as time, there was a high school state football game apparently, and you have the Washington Huskies football team at home versus Oregon State. Obviously, a big, two teams now that are 6-2-0. So I wonder, maybe not, but there's a little bit of a traffic shuffle because I'm sure the high school football game. Someone posted on the Gorge group. It's like a Facebook page, it's like a more personable, not the DMB Gorge group main page, but like a side group of fans I'm with.
Right.
Someone local said, "Hey, if you're traveling in, you have this, you have that." So maybe that was one reason. Maybe they just had a time crunch, or maybe they just wanted to. Maybe just Dave wanted to end the night on something easy and not go that next level. Which listen,
Well, I can kind of help to give you a little bit of that answer there, Marcus. I know that probably around 7:15, security was advised not only by the heads of the venue but the band itself that because of the traffic coming into the venue, because there was a ton of traffic coming in due to that football game, because it's quite literally less than a block. It's in the same complex. Due to all of that traffic, it was obscene driving in, and the band made the call to say, "Hey, listen, we're gonna push our on stage time back 20 minutes to let people get in." So it was originally, and you know this, that for those serious shows, they go on time. They don't really lollygag and like come on at like 7:40, 7:45.
right.
That's not their shtick. They can't do that. It's part of the streaming contract. The band made the say, "Listen, we're gonna come on at 7:50. We gotta get people in the doors." And I will say that the venue was filled. It was packed. When I looked out, it was a sea of people all the way up into even the people that were quite literally kissing the roof. It was nuts to butts everywhere.
Okay. And that's good because I saw obviously, like you said, the Ticketmaster drops and the lower level platinum seats were going to the face value. I saw seats left over, but not many. I think they sold well. And if you guys have never been to Seattle, I've driven through rush hour Seattle traffic. Both times I went to the Gorge multiple days because it's a northwest. There's no, all there is really it's a T. You have your I-5 that goes north south, and then you have Interstate 90 that connects at the east end of the city just to get you to the middle of nowhere. There's no sort of bypass. There's no like routes that kind of circle you around the city. So everyone is just jockeying.
It's 90 and 5, and that's it.
Right. So it's a crazy city to drive, and I've had the personal experience of going to a Mariners game, leaving a Mariners day game during rush hour traffic, and having to
Man, that sounds painful.
Yeah, you have Yankees are in town, so there are 30,000 fans either out there just to chill or out there for the game. So it was interesting. So yeah, just one of those factors. Yeah, I do say, and I hope you're able to get. I don't know if you have Sirius XM, but I would definitely say listen back to the Sirius XM stream, especially with your expertise on sound. I thought this thing was. It was just like a whole. The Seek Up just was a whole. It felt like it was a whole different band.
That Seek Up was an animal. That was. I'm very firmly in the camp that Seek Up can show up every other show, and I would never complain one iota. But that was my 19th Seek Up I've had in over 80 shows, and that is probably it's probably in the top 3 of ones I've ever had. And I remember specifically there was this one point in the outro jam where Buddy was taking the lead on his solo, and he did this really cool because the song itself is in 6/8, but he did this swung halftime the swung halftime 4x4 against the 6/8, and it was counterpointing everywhere, and it was this sonic boom of just incredible talent, and it just kept going and going and building. And I know that some people are like, oh well, C Cup can get overdone. If the crowd's not really into it, it's nothing great. This was a freaking incredible C Cup. This was a really good C Cup.
That's awesome. And the other thing was, if I don't know if you heard, for us here at home, Dave's guitar and Stefan's bass, we could hear bass runs like even on She, which I'm not a fan of, but like I could hear his bass so much better, and it kind of changed the dynamic. Seek Up, you heard it. Obviously, Crush, his Crush intro. I was like, oh, I felt like I was like next to Rab, and he gave me like a headset. He's like, here, this is like I was plugged in to the system. Like it was so Stefan and Dave were just so on point. What was it? How did Stefan sound? How did Dave sound there in Seattle compared to like your summer tours in the Vancouver show?
The sound was really really dialed in. I even I made a point in memory where while I'm not a huge fan of She, I think that it's kind of a cringy song to some degree. I could even remember myself saying, "This is a really good She." Like this is like something that normally you would never say. I was like, "This is really really good." And I don't know if it was the fact that they turned Fonz up. I don't know if what it was, but I could definitely say that there was a lot more of a cleaner sound where you could pick up those notes from Fonz. The and I definitely think that part of that is the new PA, but I will say that the audio team that DMB uses from Ultrasound is they have some incredible sound engineers, and from everything that it seems, they are just going into overdrive, doing really, really well this tour. I am excited to see where things go tomorrow. And if it's going to just keep building and building like this, MSG is going to burn down with how good those shows are going to be.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And like I said, just popping into Sirius XM, I was just like, this is they have. I mean, their comeback play, most improved player from what we had in the beginning of the pandemic to now is crazy. I do hope, and I'll end on this. I know it's the set list, like you said, you're there. It's different. That's why we have you guys come in. The one thing I think that's missing from this tour is every fall tour, I say I can get a last minute cheap ticket, which you could get here, like you did. You got a pit. You get a last minute cheap ticket. In some ways, I miss the tailgate, but in other ways, I get to kind of enjoy the band. There's not people rolling around on the lawn or really just overly crazy in the seats. But the one thing that's missing is the band brings back a dive in. They bring back a broken things. They bring back they were bringing back Sweet Emotion and Kill the King in 2018. And to me, all I'm seeing here is Come Tomorrow has decided to come back in the full band variety. I was like, oh, that'll stay on the campaign trail, it's still there. So Come Tomorrow is like the only thing we're really getting that's like coming back. So what do you think about that as far as like, these we're not seeing like just one song or two songs kind of make their way back, or we're not seeing another Madman's Eyes come out. Here's a new song that we've been messing around with, and here it is. And we're like, oh wow, this is just, I don't care about an album, just hey, this is another new song we can love. So what do you think about that kind of dynamic compared to last year in 2018?
I definitely see where you're coming from, because going back to like 2018 and 2021, those were things that we got. We got, some relatively big bust outs for both of those. I mean, Kill a King was a huge bust out. Sweet Emotion was a big bust out, and those all happened basically within the first stop or two of the tour. And I totally agree in the sense that, the fact that that hasn't happened yet has me a little puzzled. I'm wondering if, because the band's only been off, well, I say the band, but again, Dave basically didn't stop playing the entire time. But there's a part of me that wonders if Dave is just kind of viewing this more as like, oh, this is just an extension of summer tour. Like, I haven't really stopped working. Why should we go and have to, like, do we need to go and rehearse songs that we haven't played or whatever? No, we can go and reshape stuff that we have and rehash it. No sense to really dig deep into the repertoire, which, if that's the mentality, that's definitely a little concerning. It means that we're going to see a lot of staleness in the next couple of shows. But I mean, going back to Wednesday, you saw how incredibly critical I was of the band, and I've always been critical of when the band is lazy. Specifically Dave. I am very, very critical about when he's lazy because it's very easy for them to be lazy. But tonight gave me a little bit more hope that we're gonna see some movement of something really fun. I am gonna keep my positivity through tomorrow. If by tomorrow we don't see something relatively big, I would be definitely let down. I think that, it's within the realm of possibility that something big happens tomorrow, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the band is getting older. They didn't even have a rehearsal. Like you said, I mean, Dave was on the campaign trail, but they didn't even have a rehearsal from what I heard from a source. Like, they didn't practice the day before
They
or
did.
2 days before.
They flat out did not have a rehearsal.
Yeah.
That's 100%
So,
confirmed.
and Jeff was doing some shows. Dave did some stuff, but it's kind of interesting how the band will have, and this is more of a studio thing than a live thing, but the band has this time, technically, if not knowing their personal lives, it appears they're just open. And then there's an oncoming time for studio. And it's like, oh, they're in the studio for one night in Hollywood, then they go fly home. Or they like they have like they come to Vancouver and Rashawn's there late, like you said, they didn't feel inspired. So it's an interesting dynamic, but at the same time, I think, um, like you said tonight, the fact that they were able, like you said, the happiness was there. They bring on McCready. They have a mid-set watchtower. It's kind of like, it's hard to tell right now, but like you said, the next show is that turn of the card. We're gonna figure out what hand they're holding in Portland. So anyone going to Portland, hey, it's gonna be an exciting and kind of you go there with an unknown of what's gonna happen.
Well,
So really,
think of it this way. Think of it in Texas Hold'em terms. Vancouver was the flop. Today was the turn, and then tomorrow's the river. So by the end of it, we're gonna see if we're holding a pair, if we're holding a flush. Right now, I'm barely looking at three of a kind.
yeah, that's true. There you go. So thank you so much, Zach, for coming on. And like I said, get some rest and thank you for your work as far as taping these shows and giving your analysis.
Anytime, my man. I will see you tomorrow night. In the meantime, I have a 7 a.m. train, so I'm gonna go get some
Oh,
rest.
go to sleep. Get out of here. I'm kicking you out. Bye. Take care.
All right, I'll see you. I'll see you later. Take care.
All right. So yeah, thanks to Zach. And yeah, so I even on I made a post on Twitter right after this set ended. And so I try to channel these two different things, right? So you're seeing me, hey, like the whole point of the fall tour is you get just one crazy liberate, not even liberation, just play break free again. Like that's the thing, is I don't even need like like for the people of Seattle, Give them a break free, a break for it. Give them a pay for what you get. I know it was played in the summer, but my whole thing is, even if they just repeated some of the greatness of the summer, just one or two songs that made the summer so great, I'm not mad. Like, hey, Seattle's getting it. Boise's gonna, or Nampa is gonna get it, or Minneapolis is gonna get a pay for what you get, or a break free or a break for it. I'm not even set. Like, liberations are great, but just give the summer greatness to other parts of the country that are getting a show like Omaha, Nebraska. That's kind of my thing. Is that's what I'm looking for. I thought the summer was great. Here's why the summer was great. You had, first off, you had shows that did not have any big whiskey. Right? You had a Hartford show that had Break Free, Break For It, a Stone tour debut, and a two-step in there, right? And a Dancing Nancy's? Like, there were some great shows. That encore in SPAC, even though it kept getting repeated, right? To walk into SPAC and you're thinking, all right, maybe we get Spoon, maybe we get what we got recently, maybe we get Bartender, we got Bartender, but walking into SPAC night 2, and then obviously it didn't start off like, it kind of started off like an average show, but to get that encore, that pay for what you get, I was like outside of my body. It was an out of body experience, right? Going to Alpine and getting a Fool in the Rain, like, there obviously Stefan had covered it. What didn't Dave and Friends cover it? It had been covered by sectors of the band, but not the full band ever. Like, nobody was saying, like, well, I think there was one person who said, so what he's saying, you're jaded to see the D&B Society post, and the entire show was a run. Now people hope for a good 3 to 4 song run. I mean, listen, this band, it's an interesting time, but honestly, 1 or 2 songs can be great. But anyway, the point is, there were just moments in the summer that were very solid. Right. And you can't compare it to because first of all, Leroy's not here. Right. The band is older. There's no violin. But really, this is what Greg says, the best of the Buddy years. This is really that's really what makes things fun. Like, Buddy tonight, his piano, this whole tour, 2022, his piano has had more of a say in the songs. And to me, I'd rather have a piano than a trumpet. And even Rashawn tonight, there weren't, like, even this year, like, obviously there's been times where I'm like, yo, Rashawn, chill. But like, the trumpet has been balanced, especially with like the sweet outros that they've had. That's another thing. We haven't even got Sweet yet, right? Like, that's the thing, is the Sweet Extreme Makeover Home Edition of Sweet has helped this band. The Mercy, like, if they ever bring back Mercy, which I wasn't a fan of the 15-minute outros, even though I played it on Instagram. It's fun to play, but it's boring live. But like, they've just, like, the Mercy from Europe in 2019 with Buddy is amazing. Oh, so you were in, Deshaun was in, yeah. And that's the thing, is like, less trumpet, more piano. We can't convince Dave to get a violin. Let's not even talk. No, I'm not even gonna say it. We're not gonna talk about that. This is not the time. We gotta wrap this show up. But like, just give us piano. And so that's what I'm hoping. But ultimately, what I posted on, let me put this here. And oops. So this was kind of my initial reaction. And this is obviously, some of you guys know this. Yeah, you don't go to the shows for the set list. But here's the thing. Some of us, right? If you like, my first show, I had a Stone opener. Okay. My second show, I had a People Tease. right? My third show, I had a number 34 on the 12 string in the JTR and Dreaming Tree with Stanley Jordan. My fourth show, I had Spoon, Seek Up Opener, Blue Water Partial. Like when you start off your fandom and you get some crazy stuff, and some of you guys from the 90s, right? You got some crazy shows, not even rarities, just like Leroy Moore just doing some crazy improv in the 90s, in the middle of the 90s. When you start off and you get certain things, and all of a sudden you get to a bunch of run of shows and you're like, wait, I'm not getting Spoon again. I'm not getting Blackjack again. First show I got Blackjack. So sometimes it's hard not to get caught up in the set list, depending on what type of fan you are. But like when you get these special things, you want more of it, right? Like Dave got a private jet, and you don't see him taking a bus from Vancouver to Seattle, right? So even Dave, listen, Dave ain't turning back. He got that PJ as he's earned the right to have. He got it from the mud. He started in small clubs like Trax Nightclub, and now he's amassed success to be able to have private jet flights. But he's not going back to taking the little small van across the Canadian border. And as fans, some fans, not all, but some fans like myself, I started off, and even in 2012, we got some crazy things, right? And that's the thing, I never saw them in the 90s or early 2000s. But I saw them in 2012 where they were in a rough spot of the tour. People were criticizing the band apparently. And then all of a sudden in Hartford, they had a crazy night one Stone opener. Night two from Hartford that year is one of the highest viewed Copper Pop videos. Beach Ball, Halloween. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff in that one. So that's how I started, right? Oh no, that's not the problem. The band is disconnected. But my point is though, my thing is like once you get a certain luxury or once you get a certain feeling, it's hard to go back to another level. Oh, so you stopped going in 05. Okay. Yeah, I know that was a rough year for people I know that I've talked to. Again, I wasn't listen, I wasn't going to Dave shows back then. I was 15. My parents like, you ain't going to no Meadows Music Theater with all them drunk people starting riots. My parents like, yeah, you 15 years old. Anyway, this is my post. So I said more of tonight. Don't travel to see DMB chasing a set list. Travel to see DMB to see the world, hang out with friends. This set wasn't a once in a lifetime set tonight, but they sounded great and it looks like everyone was happy. I say this because I used to travel to chase sets. And I said, in the end, I've gotten some rarities. I've missed some, right? I'm still chasing Shotgun. Went to Deer Creek and Alpine, and they play Shotgun in Homedale in between. I'm in Chicago waiting for the Alpine shows, and they play Shotgun to open up Homedale, right? Just my luck. I went to all the big non-gorge shows. SPAC, Alpine, Deer Creek. They play Shotgun at everything outside of those. SPAC, Alpine, Deer Creek. I don't think they played it at the Gorge either. But I went to SPAC, Alpine, Deer Creek, and yeah, those are the kind of like the holy trinity of non-gorge shows. And to me, the travel that I've done, I've been blessed enough to do in the last couple of years, because when I first started, right, I was in my early 20s. I didn't have enough money to go to go anywhere outside of Hartford and Mansfield, but I've been blessed. I don't well, I'm getting married, but I don't have kids yet, so that helps me. I save a lot of money by switching to no kids, right? Don't have kids, it'll change your life, right? But yeah, so that was my initial thoughts of this. And we listened to Brianna talk about how, listen, for her, life's been busy, crazy busy. She even says that on Instagram. She has these times where her work is consuming her, the children, all her stuff, right? Life consumes us all. And there's a lot of different struggles. I mean, I just went to a wake today for someone from church. I went to a wake today for an elder in my church And literally his wife passed away like a month ago. I was just at the church for her wake. No, I think it was 2 months ago. And that happens sometimes with couples, is one passes away and the other one kind of maybe going through health issues like this elder was, and you kind of just, you lose your hope. You lose your wife or you lose your husband and you lose hope. Anyway, right? So I just went to the funeral for the wife, and 2 months later, the whole family's lost the husband. And they were foster parents. They were in the community, like, one of their foster kids lives in LA, and he just flew back to mourn the loss of his mother. And now his father's passed. So, man, life happens, right? There's so much going on, even with Twitter. I don't want to get into that, but there's a lot of vitriol and hate in this world. So a show like this means so much, even though, like I said, I'm going back and forth between, all right, this is what I don't like, but this is what I like. So it can be, balancing all that out. These shows, just to be at a show sometimes is more important than what the set is. The fan base is different somewhat, but lots of the same good spirits before, still in the fame. Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of you guys I've met, and you guys are all awesome. Now, listen, I was at a show at Hartford last year or this year, and the guy next to me, you talk about, I critique set lists on this thing regularly. The dude next to me was in the middle of the show yelling about, oh, there should be a violin here. Homie, we have a Stone tour debut. Yes, I don't care what you have to say about the violin. I don't care that there's a synthetic or fake synthesizer violin. All right. The freaking Stone tour debut, for the second year in a row, I was there for the Stone tour debut. And I only had they were both at my local venues, Hartford and Mansfield. My favorite song, the Stone. I don't care that there's no violin in Lion Are Great. I think they played Lion Are Great in Hartford. I don't know. He was complaining about, you know what I mean? So you have some of that, but you have a lot of great people. And yes, you do have some social media people, but in things, social media makes things different. Trust me, I'm like recording all the stuff I'm doing. So versus I'm sure back in the day, I remember bands I liked back in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. It was a lot different before social media, right? We didn't have phones. Like, we had maybe one person had a cell phone back when I was into Linkin Park. And sometimes you get in times where you're just like, listen, I need to take a break. I know people who had like cut shows this year, like, listen, I'm getting exhausted. I'm kind of fatigued, right? And they just had to take a break. They sold some tickets to certain shows and they just cut like 3 or 4 shows. But ultimately, these shows, if you're not happy, if you're not having fun, just take a break. But listen, I'm in the middle, right? There's people who are over 100 shows. There's some people who are 10, 15 shows in. I'm at 42. And there's a lot of fatigue that I've seen in the last couple of years. I've had great experiences, but there's been some fatigue going to these shows over and over. So sometimes there's breaks. I know people who used to go when Roy was here, and now they don't go. How many times? Yeah, they played bartender twice. But to me, the Jim Deshaun of this current era is the stuff, like the little things like Buddy Strong and some of the keys things he does, and even the stuff like Break Free and Break For It. Like Eric Krasno on Break For It. No, Break Free. He was on Break Free. Eric Krasno on Break Free this year. Derek Trucks on Lion Our Graves. Celise on Watchtower. McCready on Watchtower. Like, some of this stuff is like, it's just, you get these gems. Obviously, it's not the same. We can't go back. Like snow in an avalanche, we can't go back, right? The snow's already fell. We can't put it back up on the top of the mountain. It's got to melt. Once it falls, it's got to melt. But yeah, I mean, there's still great moments with this band, and but they're getting older, and most bands, and I'll close on this. Pearl Jam is the ultimate, like, now Ticketmaster kind of broke them. Ticketmaster G-checked them, and they kind of got discouraged, and I think it did impact. Obviously, they don't tour that much. And Deshaun, you got to think about it. I mean, yeah, I think we always think our minds think this band's going to tour forever, and really they're not. But look at Fish. Obviously, Trey had some personal issues, but we've seen other band members have personal issues, right? Dealing with the loss of Leroy. Obviously, Mr. Tinsley, and I'm not going to talk about that case, right? But even before that, his carpal tunnel, his spirits after Leroy passed, right? But look at Fish, look at Pearl Jam, look at all the bands who used to tour heavily, and none of them have done what DMB has done as far as their size venue. There's some smaller bands who tour frequently, but even a lot of them take a break. So DMB has ultimately, just like Tom Brady, they have beat a lot of odds in live music. Obviously, you have the Grateful Dead, but even the Grateful Dead at this point were not, obviously Jerry had passed. At this point in the Grateful Dead's lineage, right? Just over 30 years, right? Jerry had obviously we lost Leroy, right? But still, Dave is still here. They're still touring. They still feel much more of a band than, like, obviously Dead and Company. Now Dead and Company's older, but anyway, I digress. So it is what it is, but we're very fortunate. Again, Pearl Jam, like, they had a Madison Square Garden show and a New Jersey show, right? Camden. If outside of that, they didn't have any other East Coast shows really. They had a festival here or there. And this is like the first time they've done arenas in like a decade, I think, right? For Pearl Jam. Usually they do festivals and a couple of football stadiums because they were trying to circumvent Ticketmaster but as a Pearl Jam fan, if I was a diehard Pearl Jam fan, I'd be like, yo, why aren't they playing Climate Pledge Arena? They literally played all these other arenas. Why aren't they having a Seattle? Why aren't they playing the Gorge again? So it is what it is. That's the show. I got to get some sleep. Be back here tomorrow. Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon will be tomorrow. And yeah, let me find a closeout video. But thank you guys for the support. Hit the like button. If you guys want to hit the Cash App, again, you want to show me some love, Cash App, ConcertViz34. All that goes towards the equipment, upgrading everything to give you guys a better production. You ain't going to see me with the Benz, a BMW, right? You ain't going to see me with no Balenciagas. Hit the like button too. Let's see. All right, we'll end with the Mercy thing again because I got to go. I don't think we can do a full song. So let's get this in. It's your boy ConcertViz34. Hit the lovely like, comment, subscribe, share this video with others. Thank you guys for the support. I'm out of here. Peace.